What better way for a son and father to bond over than their mutual love for the Dallas Cowboys? Hi, I'm Michael Davis with my dad, Mack. We're a star-studded son and dad duo on the star-studded Cowboys Network, powered by Fans First Sports Network and Boom Broadcasting. And this is Dad and the Boys. The Cowboys season came to an end 23-19 at home, losing to the Washington Commanders Week 18 off a last-second touchdown thrown by Marcus Mariota to scary Terry McLaurin, and that was how the Cowboys lost that game. And they were in control for a good bit of it, pretty much the entire game. Dallas had this game, and it puts in the book 7-10. The Cowboys are the only team in the NFL to finish with a 7-10 record this year. But the question is this going to be the final game of Mike McCarthy's tenure? And we'll discuss that a little bit later on the episode. But, Dad, Week 18, it doesn't feel good to lose, especially to a rival. But all things considered, I don't think this was a bad way to end the year despite the score, because I did see a lot of effort from this team in McCarthy's final game as of his current contract.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, if you look at the season, it hasn't come about the way we wanted. And I know that on Out of Pocket yesterday, you had mentioned that this would be a somber episode. I'm sorry to disappoint you, because I'm still excited about my Cowboys. And you see, it's like this. Two men in NFL history have started their career 4 seasons with 12 or more sacks. Reggie White and none other than number 11. His numbers add up to 2. There's only 2 men in the history of the NFL since sacks has been a stat being kept. 2 men. That's Hall of Famer Reggie White and Micah Parsons. Congratulations, Micah. Congratulations, Brandon Aubrey, on establishing your record, breaking your own record. That's pretty good.
I mean, I want to add something to you. Brandon Aubrey did set a franchise record for the most field goals made or the most points scored, beating his record last year. And he's only been in the league 2 years, both with the Cowboys. But Brandon Aubrey made history yesterday. I don't know if you knew that. But the first player in NFL history
to knock out a cheerleader?
No, even better. Even better. The first player in NFL history during the course of a season, he kicked a full mile.
Wow.
If you look and adding up, like, he had 14 kicks from 50-plus yards. He's the first kicker ever to kick an cumulative total of a mile.
I said he could kick a mile in one kick, baby. I love Brandon Aubrey. But no, folks, our season didn't go as planned. When we sat here back in July, August, and we were looking at this team, we had higher hopes.
We did.
We did. Even though our offseason hadn't really developed, we thought we was bringing back enough core for this team to succeed.
For a core that went 3 straight seasons with 12 wins.
Right. So, and it wasn't like all of a sudden Dallas decided not to participate in free agency. They haven't participated in free agency forever. I mean, it wasn't like it was something new to us as fan base. We knew Dallas was always going to be bargain bin shopping. They have focused on re-signing their own talent that they have drafted and developed. Kids like CeeDee Lamb, kids like Dak Prescott. I mean, Micah Parsons, hopefully this offseason. You know, so, I mean, it wasn't something new for us. So it was like, we expect that. When teams are out there shopping on the first week of free agency, we know we're not going to be signing anybody. You know, Eric Kendricks was a great signing.
He really was.
I think he come in and he led the defense, helped Mike Zimmer institute. But you have to remember, all the injuries that this team is, from training camp to the end of the season, that they suffered. I mean, we're talking Pro Bowl, All-Pro players that were not on the field for this franchise. A lot of them multiple weeks. And then you turn around and you incorporate the schedule, a talented division. I mean, you had Washington exceeding expectations. You had Philadelphia playing like a true contender this year. You know, so you add all that up, and it's just like it didn't turn out the way that we expected. But there's one thing you cannot say. This team never quit on Mike McCarthy.
They really didn't.
You know, week in, week out, they put their best out there. Now, another thing you got to factor in is when you're installing a new defensive coordinator and his system, and Zimmer's system's not easy. Even bringing Kendricks in to help, that took time to gel. And when you've got Michael Parsons out, or this one or that one out,
Deron Bland out like 11 weeks.
Trayvon, he comes back, plays the game, and Trayvon goes out. You've got DeMarcus Lawrence out the majority of the year. So, you've got Pro Bowl caliber players missing time. You got DeMarvion Overshown, who was a highlight reel this year, all of a sudden goes down with an injury. It just seemed like every time they would take a step forward, they get knocked back 2 steps on the injury front. But they kept playing with heart. They kept playing with determination. A lot of fans sit there and say, well, it's ending our draft picks and all. You know what? We ended up with number 12.
Yeah.
Well, the last time we picked number 12, guess what? We picked number 11. And if we can do that well this time around, bro, sign me up. Put us down permanently for pick number 12. I'm good with that.
And to be fair, obviously you want like a higher draft pick versus a lower draft pick, but you also want to be in the playoffs versus not be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the way we ended up, like if you look at that 12th spot, and we'll talk a lot more about the draft moving forward. There were some really good picks like a Jahmyr Gibbs, a Jamison Williams, a Sean Merriman, Haloti Ngata, Vita Vea, Micah Parsons. The list goes on and on. Bo Nix more recently.
And honestly, folks, I'm sorry, but if you're watching this, you can believe me or not. I believe we're a fluke play away from the playoffs this year.
That Bengals game.
Because if that Bengals game didn't happen where that kid accidentally touched the ball, there's no way you should see CeeDee Lamb sitting down. There is no way. This is a whole different game. Yeah, it would have been a difficult battle with Philadelphia, but I think that game would have been different. I know the Washington game would have been different. I mean, Trey Lance himself, yeah, he got to start this week for the first time in a few seasons, and he put up a very, very reputable game.
Which was there,
and that's without CD.
And his stats, 20 of 34, 244 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. He didn't really make mistakes, in that final preseason game where he threw 5 interceptions. Yeah. It was just where did this come from?
But look who he was playing with.
Exactly.
Not that the talent was that much different.
I feel like that helped him a little bit step into this game. But that's also been met with a little bit of controversy. Cooper Rush was apparently just a little bit away. If he had played this game, he would have won $250,000 bonus. I just want to say, Jerry said he didn't, he wasn't aware of that bonus before the game. I don't know if Jerry made the decision. I don't know if Mike McCarthy made the decision. But at the end of the day,
it doesn't matter. Cooper Rush. And I'm not going on and writing any checks on Jerry Jones's behalf. Understand, I don't have that authority. And there's a lot of fans out there. There's a lot of non-Cowboy fans out there, even more, that like to make fun of Jerry Jones. And they like to talk about Mike McCarthy. Why would anybody want to coach the Dallas Cowboys? Ask Jared Mayo. 1 year and done, baby. You're out of there. Such a great organization. Robert Kraft and the New England Patriots. 1 year and you're done. And you're a homegrown boy. Guess what? He let Jason Garrett coach 5 years, let his contract expire, re-signed him. He coached another 5 years. The next time, hey, he didn't re-sign him. But he didn't fire him. He let his contract expire. Mike McCarthy never got fired. He had 5 years. He may even get more. That has yet to be decided on the or disclosed. Because Jerry said going into this game that the hay was already in the barn, folks. The decision's already made. We just don't know. We're not privy to that decision. Now, he did say this. They asked him if other teams come calling, if he would grant Mike McCarthy the opportunity to interview. He said, yeah. He said he has no problem granting Mike McCarthy the opportunity to interview with jobs. He said, because I want somebody that wants to be here. All Mike McCarthy's got to do is say, hey, at this point, I'm with the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't want to go anywhere. And until they tell me I don't have a job here, this is where I'm going to be. That's a Mike McCarthy decision. There's a lot of people that dig Jerry Jones, and I'll give you credit. He is not probably what they call the football folks. Well, guess what? He's as a GM, he's won 3 Super Bowls. How many other GMs out there can say that? Oh, yeah, he might have had to do it with Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, but he did it. A GM alone doesn't make a team. Yeah, has he made poor decisions? Yes. But you know what a GM's responsibility is? To assemble talent. What team out there, what team in the NFL has produced more first-round success and more Pro Bowlers over the last 15 years? Name them. You won't get a handful, I promise you. Now, granted, their chemistry and things just come together, and sometimes you're snake bitten. That's okay. But I will say this. You go on the Dallas Cowboys media sites, and you listen to some of the former players talk about Jerry Jones. And you will understand one thing about Mr. Jones. Jerry might have Jerry's world, and people might call it a circus or whatever. But Jerry Jones is one of the most loyal owners to his staff and his talent of anybody around. Bar none.
And that's why I wanted to bring up, if Jerry really didn't know, the whole situation, if he made the decision, if McCarthy made the decision, I don't think $250,000 is much to Jerry. Just write the check.
In the past, Jerry's done it.
Yeah, just write the check to Cooper Rush.
I honestly believe Jerry, knowing the facts, I believe that Jerry will take in honor, as he has done in the past for players. He will honor the bonus that he would potentially made. Now, I'm not writing a check for Jerry Jones, but I do believe that he will honor that for Cooper Rush, who has been nothing but a good soldier going forward. But, hey, folks, they did need to know. Because with both of these kids out of contract, I've got a feeling that teams are going to come calling for Cooper Rush. With his record as a backup quarterback, you've got teams, and there's articles out there that, it could be the Panthers. He could be playing in North Carolina and being a mentor and a backup to Bryce Young. And in all honesty, that would be a good signing for Carolina.
Or you could go to a Tennessee and be a mentor to
a rookie,
or compete for a starting job outright.
I don't know that he's going to compete with a starting job outright. They probably don't want him. He's a career backup. You had to find out what Trey Lance could do. You knew what Trey Lance could do in practice.
Mm-hmm.
They had the most privy to that concept because he hasn't played in any games. Now he's only got 2 games really where he's had full control for the game on tape for franchises. He's got the preseason, 5 interceptions. He's got yesterday, 0 and 0. Did he play a good, solid game? I think he did. I was very impressed with him. He threw the ball. He was throwing it well. There was that one pass that was almost intercepted. And I looked at you and I was like, what in the world was that? Because he's been throwing the ball on a dime.
But it was tipped.
And then they did a replay and we realized that it was tipped because it was like, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? But you started seeing throughout the course of this year, you started seeing that defense develop, build chemistry. And they were doing it with practice squad guys.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
you had Troy Pride Jr., who wasn't on the roster many years ago.
Who was playing a lot of snaps yesterday and the game before in Philly.
I mean, Linval Joseph, who should have never seen the field. Carl Lawson, who I was an advocate for in the preseason, but didn't want him starting because I was like, well, you got Micah, you got Nealon, you got Lawrence.
And you got Sam Williams, but Sam Williams didn't get out of training camp.
You had a lot of players who was out on both offense and defense. But as much as we pride ourselves on Eric Kendricks, and of course we're just
and you saw Maris Leofau really step up when Overshawn went down. I mean, you've seen the development and that comes from coaching. Whether it be the position coaches, the head coach, the coordinators, or what, that comes from coaching. And you started to see this defense develop over the last course of the season. And when Parsons came back from injury, remember, he missed 4 games, folks.
Yeah. And that's why I want to bring up after the commercial break, talking about Mike McCarthy. I dropped an article on Fans First Sports Network earlier this week and talked about Mike McCarthy potentially coming back. Jerry, what's making up his mind? And I want to give that its full potential next, right after this commercial break. Welcome back to Dad and the Boys. Michael, my dad, Mac. We're on Boom Broadcasting. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, we're fastly approaching 500 subscribers. Go give us a subscribe. It'll tell you all the content we're making, which is Cowboys content, like my dad's Starstruck episode, and more content like football, wrestling, basketball, baseball, TV review, podcasts on life. There's so much content there. And Fans First Sports Network. If you like more than one team, if you like more than one sport, they have you covered over there through our audio platforms. And I wrote an article on Monday afternoon on fansfirstsports.com talking about Jerry Jones and making the decision about Mike McCarthy. And, I'll be honest, Dad, you're saying it's already done. I want like pen to paper. I want, hey, Mike McCarthy, we're bringing you back 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be. I want that solidified because if McCarthy and Jerry can't come to grips on a deal for whatever reason, money, year-wise, whatever, I don't want to lose out on candidates who may be there right now. So I want pen to paper, but some fans may not. Some fans may want a different coach. I think you and I have both been vocal, but confirm, would you want Mike McCarthy coaching this team in 2025? Oh, and even like if you're writing the check, how many years are you going to put on that?
I have been on record all year that from preseason, training camp, OTAs, I like M&M. Michael and Mac, Mike and Mike. Bring back McCarthy and Zimmer for 5 years.
5 years. And to be fair, contracts, sometimes you'll sign a contract like Gerard Mayo, and then you'll be like, oh, we didn't do it. That's not a bad idea, though, to bring him back, especially as we saw a lot of injuries happen this year. Mike McCarthy originally having 3 consecutive 12-win years. The only time that's happened in the NFL history, which is wild to think about that. And in addition, the defense coming on a little bit later in the season, like we mentioned a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, it boils down to this. If you keep making changes, you just start recreating the wheel over and over. The wheel goes round and round, folks. They no use in recreating it every time you turn around. A lot of these franchises out there, the reason they're picking top 5 every year is because they keep changing everything. every year. I mean, there's no consistency. A player, Bill Parcells said, a player, it's year 3 that you really know what you've got. You know, it's year 3. Because we've seen one year wonders throughout the history of the NFL. RG3, you know, we've seen those wonders. It's like, what is a consistent basis? After year 3 usually is what you see. As far as a coach, you know, it takes time to build a culture. And Mike McCarthy is slowly installing that culture into the Dallas Cowboys. And with the restrictions of the salary cap, where you're not the New York Yankees, you can go buy everything that you want. Where you're not the Philadelphia Eagles and you can go and recreate stuff. Or you're not the Dodgers, where you can go make false contracts up and pay a man $1 a year, you know, and future earnings. Or you kick stuff down the road like the Eagles do continuously and never have to pay for it. Or you get a team like Miami to bail you out of a sorry signing. You know, so it's one of those things where it takes time to build that culture, and he is building it. And you look at this offensive line. I mean, you started 2 rookies this year
at 2 of the most pivotal offensive line positions.
Yeah, center and left tackle. I mean, yeah, the jury's kind of still out on Guyton. I think he might be our right tackle of the future, in all honesty.
I mean, if it means getting rid of Terrence Steele, I'm okay with that.
You know, I mean, Terrence, you're a Cowboy. For that, I love you. But you didn't have the best season this year. I do think they need to really reevaluate who they want going forward there. And the fact that they can save cap money by releasing you outright or a June 1st cap casualty, I think the writing's on the wall there, because there's easily that is a position that can be upgraded. It may be gotten, it may be another draft pick. It just depends on how the draft falls and what their priorities are. You know, love Rico Dowdle. Rico had a great year. I mean, when he started taking over the majority of the snaps. But that should not hinder Dallas from looking in the draft. I went on record as saying I want a first-round offensive lineman, and I want the kid from Carolina to be their second-round back. Although I wouldn't be too bad opposed to getting Ashton Jeanty in the first round, or I wouldn't be opposed to getting Scatterbo in the 3rd or 4th. We do need to address it in the draft. We can't be going out in free agency and looking at this or that. I don't think there's a Barkley out there this year. I don't think there's a Henry out there this year. And I don't think we need to be paying that kind of money for that talent. We do need somebody on the opposite side of CD Lamb. My boy from South Alabama Tolbert had a good season. You know, had 7 touchdowns. That kind of shocked me when I saw that. For the season, he had like over 500 or 600 yards. A good season for a number 3 wide receiver, which is what he basically played for the most part. But, you know, Brandon Cooks was out most of the year for injury. Do we bring him back? Or do we look in the draft for his replacement?
So what you're saying is more, there's a team here.
There's a core we need to fine tune.
And if we go in a different direction with a coach or a coordinator, we might be relearning a lot of stuff.
Well, you're basically, if you go with a new head coach, you're relearning the offense because he's our offensive coordinator, play caller. Then if you don't bring back Mike McCarthy, you're probably not bringing back Zimmer. So now you've got to install an offense and a defense. So now we're 2 to 3 more years down the road. Well, guess what? We just re-signed CD Lamb and Dak Prescott for 4-year deals.
And so you all
now
of a sudden lose those years.
The best chance you're going to have is 4 years down the road in that 4th year of that contract at even having any success. Then you're going to have to be paying them again if you want them, or you're going to have to be letting them walk. So, I mean, I really am for staying the course. And not only because of the economical stuff and not because of the continuity, but because I believe both of them are really good coaches, if not great.
And I mean, it's pretty evident with Chicago requesting to interview Mike McCarthy. They played him in Green Bay all those years, and he's seen what they've done in Dallas. So it's obvious that, Mike McCarthy, if he isn't coaching the Cowboys this year, he'll be coaching a team in the NFL. Whether it's the Bears or Saints are also interested in Mike McCarthy, so on and so forth.
And I mean, it comes down to this. There was at one point, I remember during the season, we were sitting there watching a game, and you looked at me and you said, Dad, how fast can you run? We need help on the defensive line and the offensive line. How fast can you run? You're a big boy. I'm like, I could do a mile in about an hour or two. So I mean, it's one of those things where it got that bad. I mean, it's a joke, but it got that bad. I mean, we were bringing kids off the street, we're bringing kids off the practice squad, and we was starting them because we didn't have anybody else. And when you go and you do that, especially to an offensive line, where continuity is the most pivotal for that group, then the results are going to suffer. They finished 7-10. I mean,
12th worst in the NFL.
With the injuries and stuff, it could have feasibly been 4-13.
At some point, it did look like it was going to be 4-13,
3-14. I mean, it could have been that bad, in all honesty, and it would have been legitimized. The fact that they ended up 7-10 is a credit to the coaching staff and to the players that stepped up and fought and fought and fought.
And Micah Parsons playing in a Week 18 game that, he's looking for a big contract, but I mean, it didn't matter.
The season was over.
He could have sat out.
That's a leader. And honestly, I believe if we were still in playoff contention, they wouldn't have set CD Lamb down.
CD didn't want to get
CD didn't want to go down. I mean, the kid came out week after week after week. That's the reason if you're watching Starstruck, and I made the comment on here several times, CD Lamb moved up in my top 100, which we will start revisiting this week. Sorry for the pause that I've been on.
Holidays
and stuff, but we will regroup and we will get back to the top 100. We can kind of focus a little bit more on that and kind of catch you up a little bit, examine the ones that have come before and kind of go over a little bit more in depth the ones that are still out there and as they come up. But he's moved up since I started this list, because it's showing me that heart, that desire to be a Cowboy, that desire to play and give your all for the team. And that boils down to this. I was a soldier in the military, and then one thing that you admire is somebody that serves for a cause, whether that be the military, whether that be a team, whether that be for fans, whether that be for an organization, what have you, and they give their 110%, and he did that. He laid his body on the line for that team, for my fandom.
And the people who save a bunch of money to come and watch the Cowboys either at home or on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really good, but it shows you like a locker room who quits on their coach doesn't do that and doesn't put themselves in harm's way.
And that's the last coach that he fired, by the way. Wade Phillips. Fired him mid-season. That was the last coach that Jerry Jones fired. So if it isn't Mike McCarthy and you're out there and you're a prospect, everybody keeps calling, well, who would want to coach the Dallas Cowboys? Hey, if I was an up-and-coming coach and I knew that, hey, this guy has a history of giving you the entire contract to do something for 5 years, I would take that over any place out there. Simply because
job security.
I mean, because look, Jared Mayo got 1 year in his own organization that he took over for Belichick. I mean, and that's not uncommon that you see these guys, first year, second year, and they're all of a sudden, unless they have great success, they're getting fired. Look, Nick Sirianni led the team to the Super Bowl not too long ago, and there was talk about him getting fired at the end of this year. If they hadn't had that acquisition of Barkley and had the year that they had, he probably would have gotten fired.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson led them to a Super Bowl, won, the only coach to win a Super Bowl in Philly, and still got fired.
Not even Buddy Phillips, not even Andy Reid.
Not Dick Vermeil. I mean, it was 1 to 2 years later and he's out. So, I mean, you got fickle ownership. Jerry Jones is loyal to a fault.
To a fault sometimes.
To a fault. I mean, players and everything. And players love him. Coaches, people that have dealt with Jerry Jones generally like Jerry Jones. I mean, because they know that he's going to give them every opportunity to succeed. And again, GM's job is to organize the staff and organize talent for that staff to coach. Look at the Pro Bowls. Look at the wins. Yeah, they've been regular season. They haven't had a lot of postseason success. There's a lot of different narratives that go into that. Like playing zone defense the entire game because your top cornerback got hurt his shoulder, or one of your top cornerbacks got hurt. Injuries. Everything plays into a season. A lot of times you don't only have to be good, but you have to be lucky to get far in the postseason.
And that's what we hope Dallas will do next year as they regroup. And we'll keep you updated on Dad and the boys. Obviously, we're not in the season anymore. We would do a recap show on Tuesdays and we do a preview on Fridays. But we'll keep you guys updated as we modify our schedule for the offseason. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to cover. We got many weeks to cover those, whether it's free agency, which doesn't usually get covered a lot for Dallas Cowboy fans. We have a lot of the draft to talk about. We have pre-draft, post-draft, and we have a lot of content in store for you through Dad and the Boys, through Dad's Starstruck podcast that airs Saturday afternoons at 3 p.m. And we are excited for what 2025 is going to bring, not only the Star-Studded Cowboys Network, but Fans First Sports Network and Boom Broadcasting. We hope you guys
and them Cowboys.
And the Cowboys. And we hope you guys will be along for this ride with us. But guys, we will let you return to your regularly scheduled lives for now. And thank you guys so much for listening to us on Fans First Sports Network, for watching us on Boom Broadcasting. Stay tuned to our socials, see if we can drop a show this week. Logistics are going to play out with that. But we will definitely be back next week, if not later on this Friday. So, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. And remember, this is our first rodeo. We'll catch you here next time.